Of all the places we've traveled for Tracks Ahead, none has captured our imagination as much as Cuba. It's well worth the trip to see classic steam in operation.
You're seeing something most Americans can only dream of: the trains of Cuba. Seeing these living, breathing pieces of rail history is even more impressive in person. Until recently, that was the stuff of fantasy. Chris Scow runs Trains Unlimited Tours. He's got a steady stream of regular clients who count on him for access to the most fabulous trains the world has to offer. They wanted to come to Cuba for years. He even had clients say they'd go if it was illegal.
We decided years ago that it's either going to be legal or not at all. And there has been so much demand to run this railroad tour of Cuba that it's been eating at us for years.
Recent moves by the U.S. government allow for limited travel to Cuba for Americans making educational visits with licensed groups. Trains Unlimited Tours is the first group to take advantage of the new laws and bring rail fans. And now they're here. And as wonderful as the train portions of this trip have been, there was an unexpected bonus.
We have run railroad tours all through Latin America and Mexico. And the warmness of the people here towards Americans, maybe it's a curiosity. We're the folks from the north that they know nothing about. Whatever it is, they are very cordial and very interested in our activities, in our lifestyle, and what we're all about.
Some expected this place to feel like Mexico. Some expected it to feel a bit dangerous and edgy. To a person, they admit they were wrong.
I felt extremely safe. I've not been at all uncomfortable. People are very friendly. They smile. They speak. We don't always understand, but Tom knows some Spanish, and he's able to communicate with them. They can understand him when he asks questions, and we felt very secure.
With the only passenger rail line alive in the Caribbean, trains are part of everyday life for many Cubans. They offer one of the best, if more crowded, ways to get around.
Why come to Cuba? Well, the reason we came to Cuba was to see the steam engines. That was our basic reason. And why we went, in order to get here, we had to get some authorized trip. And this was the one that was authorized, and that's why we're here, to see the engines. Well, the railroads, not only the engines, but all the Cuban railways.
It's very interesting for Americans to come to visit Cuba, for the relationship, for the rolling stock, for the atmosphere, for the colonial cities, for the country, for everything, in fact.
There's a whole world of railroading here. Terry Nicholas is the main force behind bringing rail fans to Cuba. His company, Transnico, has been bringing in European rail fans for years. He says when you see Cuban rail, it's as if you're seeing it through the windows of a time machine.
In fact, you are back in time for about 50 years. Not only for trains, for everything. Except the few five-star hotels that's really on the world market. But when you are coming in Cuba, straight away, it's like you have the eyes of your grandfather.
Chocolate was once a major industry in Cuba. These cars were brought in by Hershey long ago in the 1920s. Like a lot of classics here, they're still in service. Look around almost anywhere in Cuba, and you'll find a collection of old American cars that would make an enthusiast drool. What's also amazing is the fact that no new parts have come in, legally, for these cars since the late 1950s. When they break down, and if a new part is needed, the Cubans have to come up with some way to get it running again. Much the same is true for the trains.
Here in Cuba, it's all real. It's still happening every day. It's not staged. Sure, our photo run-bys were staged, but it's all real. It's a real working railroad, railroads and mills with real American steam locomotives really doing a job that it was meant to do.
Most of the operations are in good shape, if very old, but because they're still a vital part of the economy. These hard-working engines are a testament to Cuban ingenuity, keeping old locos running long after most have been retired or even junked in the U.S. Chris Scow and his team worked it out so travelers on his trips get to see special things normally off-limits to visitors. It is a very rare treat to see these shops outfitted to handle whatever comes up. After all, these are really old trains, and it's not like they can just call a warehouse and order parts. They have to build them.
I grew up in the late 40s and 50s, and there was steam there. Some of the locomotives didn't look an awful lot unlike what we're seeing here. And they've been forced to use these locomotives continuously, well beyond their normal life expectancy. And it's very interesting to see how well they have done in maintaining and keeping those locomotives operating.
Unlike most of the rest of the tourist world, Cuba has not been bowled over by growth and homogenized.
What I enjoy, I think, the most is the colonial architecture. We've stopped at a few towns for maybe 30 or 40 minutes, and it's been extremely interesting to me.
The trains here are rare. Chris Scow says he and his partners have been talking with the Cuban government about the possibility of a museum.
And indeed, they are thinking seriously about it. They see the tourism and the value of these steam locomotives, which are unique now in the entire world. And they say, hey, this is a good thing we have.
When you come here, you see it pretty much the way it's been for a long time. It's true with the gorgeous old architecture as well as the trains.
They're not just models and not tourist sort of attraction. They're actually working steam at these sugar mills and cane fields, and they really give you them the feeling of a true working steam operation.
That makes all the difference in the world. I mean, rail fans, my clients, my hardcore rail fan clients, they are after real operations. Even to a very wide extent, the real operations in South America have now ceased except for just a few remote lines. And here in Cuba, it's all real.
No one knows how long this kind of railroading will last in Cuba. There's been serious talk of replacing the old steam with newer diesel stock.
On this tour, we have seen several sugar mills that were even listed by the Cuban government this year, 2001, as being in full steam with nothing but steam locomotives. We have found that they've already been dieselized. We have found that some of the steam engines are already in disrepair and have been replaced by diesel, either partially or fully. It is happening very fast. Now, when I say very fast, the scope of the Cuban sugar mills are so vast. There's nothing like it in the world as far as the number of mills. This is going to take several years for the steam to be replaced by diesel, but indeed it's happening.
And while this place has that locked-in-time feel, things are changing, politically and socially. Many think it's only a matter of time until Cuba is, again, truly open to Americans. These trips offer a rare chance to see Cuba as it is now, before whatever comes next.
And I hope that the politics will change regarding this country and to do more friendship between the both countries, because they have a long history together. And it's not the same with many other countries.
In Cuba, the reminders of how non-American this place is are everywhere. Busts of Jose Marti are a common sight. Marti was a poet and revolutionary from the time when Cuba was struggling to gain its independence from Spain. He is said to represent the heart of Cuba. One statue of Marti shows him holding a child. Look closer and you'll see the child is young Elian Gonzalez. Marti points defiantly toward the United States. And of course, Fidel Castro is everywhere. Posters and billboards showing strength in spite of the U.S. embargo are hard to miss. In fact, in Cuba, the embargo is known as the blockade. The view of the Cuban-American situation is quite different when seen from Cuba. It's time to head home, back to the U.S. For Chris Scow, this first foray into forbidden Cuba is a success. The Cuban sunsets were something many Americans took for granted for many years. This was the playground for the rich and famous. Now, this is a scene that's forbidden to most American eyes. If the politics change, it might be a sight that again thrills Americans anxious to return to this forbidden island. For now, it is hard to get here, and for the travelers who've come on this trip, well worth the trouble.